Welcome, everybody. It is 4:33, and we will just begin with some preliminary things. We still got folks coming in to sit down, and we hope we see some more that will trickle in over time. I'm so glad you're here. I'm Catherine Luckner, for those of you that might be new this evening, and we've got a very good program, as you may have read. The first thing we usually do before we get started is to let you know that our commissioner is not going to be here. He has not missed a single meeting since he was elected. And tonight he has to miss because of another event. But I also think sometimes there are times when our commissioners can't be present if we're discussing something that might come before them. So that's another potential reason. And he didn't mention that, but I would think that's another possibility. So today we have first up Sergeant Daniel Smith, our sheriff. And I must tell you, it's been a really good time for our sheriff's work. And there's so many things I'm happy about. And most of all, the things that we don't hear about, I'm really happy about. Take it away.
Thank you very much. What I have is the overview of SKA. It's the report that we have that's put together by our crime analyst each month. This covers September 1st through the 30th, 2023. From that time, there were 244 calls for service on SKA. 13 of those 244 calls, or 5% of the total, were persons or property crimes classified under NIBRs, and it's the FBI how they classify crimes. For those, it was 5 simple assaults, 1 felony criminal mischief, 2 defrauding an innkeeper, 2 fraud, 1 fraudulent use of personal identification, 1 vehicle burglary, and 1 petty theft from a building. For the vehicle burglary, multiple purses were left in a vehicle and the window was smashed. In that, the purses were left in plain view. You could see them right through the windows. So if you do end up leaving any valuables in your vehicle, just make sure that they're in the trunk or they're hidden somewhere that people can't just see through. And also make sure the doors are locked. In this case, the window was smashed, but in a lot of cases, in a lot of vehicle burglary cases, the cars are left unlocked, so make sure you're locking those. In the criminal mischief incident that occurred at a residence under construction, drywall was damaged and juveniles were seen in the area and believed to be responsible. In the 5 reported assault incidents, arrests were made in 2 of them, and in the remaining 3 cases, the victim signed a waiver that chose not to prosecute. 1 theft was reported, and it involved an item removed from a residence by a known suspect. And then on page 2 covers the majority of the other calls, the 244 calls for service, that excludes those 13 incidents. So a majority of them are alarm calls. Most of the time they're alarms that went off, but there was no criminal act, there was no break or anything like that. The alarm went off. We'll go there, make sure everything's secure, make sure the house isn't being burglarized or anything like that. Contact the owner to see if they want it locked up or what they want done. That was 21 calls in September. Animal services responded for 15 calls. There were 23 calls for assist other agency, which is typically the fire department will assist the fire department in anything that they might have, traffic control or helping them gain entry to a building if they need help with that. And then officer public service, there were 27 officer public service. So that's anything really, anytime a law enforcement officer goes out and helps somebody out with something, somebody needs gas, they give them a ride somewhere to the gas station. Somebody needs directions, it covers all of that. Okay. And that's the report for September. And yeah, I'd like to kind of get into a little bit of crime deterrence and go back to the see something, say something sort of thing. There was a planned event that was planned for last month out here of a lot of individuals that were coming out that were known individuals. from Manatee County. That information was given to us from Manatee County Sheriff's Office. And we were able, because that was given to us, we were able to increase our numbers here on Siesta Key, get a lot of extra units to come out and help and just saturate the area for a larger law enforcement presence to deter this planned event that could have happened and it could have gone bad. Several subjects of that planned event still did decide to come out, and there were several arrests made during that time. But the majority of the event that was planned of 100 or plus people, that was deterred and it didn't happen. And that's because somebody saw something and said something. So if you see something, hear something, give it to law enforcement, catch us on the beach or go onto our website and there's a reporting app on there, or just call our non-emergency number and say, hey, I've heard of this planned event of juveniles or a planned event of somebody that looks like it could be criminal in nature. So that see something, say something. Absolutely. Yes, sir.
Give me an example. What's the plan? Yeah, you're talking code. What is the plan? What is the planned event that you interrupted?
So a planned event, a planned party of a lot of individuals. A lot of times it happens with juveniles around spring break is the juveniles will send out senior skip day and they'll send us something out on Snapchat or social media or something like that and say, we're all going to meet at Access 2, which is up here in the village, Beach Access 2. And they're all going to meet at 12 o'clock. They're all skipping school. And before we know it, we have 1,000 kids on the beach, underage drinking, smoking marijuana, doing other criminal acts. So if we can get ahead of that, set up extra law enforcement presence in the area and deter them from ever coming out to that planned event that they're planning and stopping them from becoming this giant group of 1,000 kids that's now out of control, where we're out there in front of it, we deter them from ever coming, they see us, and then they decide to go elsewhere, and they don't become this large, huge group that's uncontrollable in a lot of cases. Any other question? Yes.
So was that part of that group that was coming down on bicycles one day down Ocean? There was like 50 or 75 kids on bicycles.
No, I did hear of something like that happened more in the city's jurisdiction. I'm not sure if they
came through the village, and then I saw a couple deputies following them around, where they moved roundabout is right there in Heigl.
Yeah, from my understanding of that, it was a group of kids that were more or less just out on a bike ride, but a lot of them, and they needed to kind of be explained the rules of the road when you're on a bicycle and how you're supposed to operate a bicycle when you're on it. If you're in the bike lane, the sidewalk, or operating in the roadway, they were explaining the rules of the road. I'm not sure if that was a planned event like I'm talking about. I'm not sure what those kids were actually doing, or if they were just being kids out on bike rides. Yes, ma'am.
Have you heard very many cases? We know of one of swastikas being written in the sand on the beach.
No, I don't. It hasn't been reported to me.
Should that be reported?
I mean, you can. I would just come out and kick sand over it.
That's what they do.
I would just cover it up.
Yeah.
It's
The committee rules against, what is the policy for being written on public places? And have we had any problems with that?
not to my knowledge. No, we haven't had much problems.
Is there a fine? Did you call
Yes,
it?
it's criminal. Yes.
It is a criminal act.
Yes, it is. Yeah.
But you have to catch them.
Right. We would have to catch them and an investigation would go on if it's, is there anywhere specific that you're talking about?
No, it's just that, every city you go into now is like this.
Yeah, we don't either. So
Law against it.
absolutely, there is absolutely a law against that. Yes. So if somebody's spray painting something and it's not their property and they're doing it illegally, and we catch them, yeah, they would either go to jail or have a summons to appear in court. Mhm.
I don't know if it was your immediate predecessor, one of the sheriffs that were here before, said that the sheriff's department, if they see like graffiti, a lot of times the bridges they'll have,
Sure, yeah.
and they will paint over it. Just to, keep ahead of it.
I'm not sure if the sheriff's office does, or if we contact the county, whoever road and bridge that maintains it, but it will definitely get covered up for sure. I'm not sure the time frame, but it will definitely eventually be fixed and covered up and painted over. Any other questions? Okay, thank you very much. Thank you.
And our other popular officer is Officer Bern Pisaturo, who is our code enforcement officer. And I think I've actually given your name out to a few people. You might have heard from them.
Okay.
I hope so, because I think a lot of folks are interested in keeping everything just as nice as we are fortunate to have it. So thank you. Come on up.
Our report for September 2023, we had 5 calls for service. One of them was a business use permit violation. It was a boat tour company picking up passengers in some of the county parks and unrequired areas that the company didn't have a business use permit, so we put a cease to that. I issued them a notice of violation. And they have until the middle of October to get a business use permit, but in the meantime, they cannot operate. I don't know if some of you are aware of the desalination pod that was off of Siesta Key Circle in Roberts Bay. We took that to court and the magistrate found in favor of the county that that's a marine park district. So it was a mini floating laboratory desalinating the water and growing crops. He put an end to that. So he removed that pod. We had one case of overgrowth of weeds and grass on private property. That property owner brought mowed the lawn and brought it into compliance. We had 2 reports of right-of-way overgrowth. One was at Point Crisp and Midnight Pass. The other was at 5236 Winding Way. Land and Bridge were contacted. They handled the right-of-way overgrowth. So there's a ticket in for with them to cut back the overgrowth. I removed 25 push-in signs in the village. It seems to be a problem. Any sign that's pushed into the right-of-way is against county code, so we just go up and pick them up. Also, to further talk about graffiti, the code enforcement handles that. If it's any graffiti on county property, the county will paint over it. But if there's graffiti to a commercial property, a public property, the homeowner has to paint over it. We have a code against that. So if that's ever seen, you can just contact code enforcement. Any questions?
Thank you.
Thank you so much.